If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Is this the most misunderstood statement in Star Wars? In this scene, Obi-Wan confronts his apprentice Anakin, who has recently turned to the dark side and become a Sith. During their confrontation, Obi-Wan asserts that a fundamental trait of being a Sith is dealing in absolutes. This scene has been uploaded on YouTube numerous times, and in the comments of most of these videos, you'll find people pointing out that Obi-Wan has indirectly labeled himself a Sith. At first glance, this seems like a valid observation, until you think about it more deeply. Obi-Wan says, only Sith deal in absolutes, which itself is an absolute, leading some to conclude that Obi-Wan is a Sith. However, I disagree. Let's break down the statement into a formal argument to show why accusing Obi-Wan of being a Sith based on this is unsound. Here it is in modus ponens. Premise 1. If you deal in absolutes, then you are a Sith. Premise 2. X deals in absolutes. Conclusion. Therefore, X is a Sith. The argument form is valid. Namely, if all the premises are true, then the conclusion has to be true. Thus, to soundly activate the argument and obtain the conclusion, what we plug into X has to be true in relation to the rest of the premise. If I plug Darth Vader into the premise, the conclusion will be true because he deals in absolutes. However, can the same be said about Obi-Wan? The argument that Obi-Wan is a Sith hinges on the interpretation of the word deal. What does it mean to deal with something, and is Obi-Wan dealing in an absolute way? Here, I take absolute to mean a binary perspective, either or, black or white, with no grey areas or exceptions. As for the word deal, in this context, I understand it as the response, resolution or negotiation between an individual or group and an unwanted obstacle. To deal with something is to attempt to remove the obstacle. So, is Obi-Wan's statement a form of dealing with an obstacle? And if so, is it binary? I don't think so. Inserting Obi-Wan into this formal argument fails to trigger the conclusion that he is a Sith, because he is ultimately just making a declarative statement. He isn't dealing with anything. He's merely describing one of the characteristics of a Sith. For example, if someone asked you, "Can there exist an object without colour?" and you responded, "No, all objects must have colour," you would simply be making a declarative statement, and it would be ridiculous if someone argued you were dealing in absolutes. While it is logically an absolute, you are not dealing with an unwanted obstacle that requires resolution. I see Obi-Wan doing something similar. He's recognizing Anakin's transition to the dark side by noting his inability to find nuance. Anakin tells Obi-Wan, "You are either with me or against me." There is no in-between. Of course, one could argue that Obi-Wan's declarative statement is a form of dealing with an obstacle. Perhaps he's trying to convince Anakin by pointing out that he's acting like a Sith. That's a fair point. Declarative statements can indeed be used to effect change. For instance, your significant other might ask you, "How's my dress?" and your response could be seen as a way of dealing with the potential obstacle of a disagreement or future bickering. However, Obi-Wan's declaration and his way of dealing with Anakin aren't absolute. Maybe it would be if he had said, "All Sith must die." Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm not sure how relevant this video is, but this misunderstanding has always bothered me. So I figured I should make a video about it. Be sure to like and subscribe.